and welcome to the Divorce Lab. We're a group of independent professionals working to help educate the public on various topics related to divorce. I am Carrie Goldring, a certified divorce lending professional who specializes in mortgage planning.
And I'm Mark Avezai. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. I work primarily in Troy, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Jim Chryssikos. I'm a family law attorney and mediator located in Troy, Michigan. So let's get started with today's show.
And Jim, I frequently see in buy-sell agreements between business owners different methods for valuing the business for purposes of what we call a triggering event. You know, somebody gets divorced, their interest could be subject to the divorce, and that it triggers the other partners being able to buy out the divorcing, owner's interest, and a valuation for that. And a lot of times it's depressed in value, meaning there's, some form of a discount that's applied, or there is, the owners agree every year on an agreed upon value of the business, as opposed to, a multiple of the EBITDA or something like that. So, how does that play in to the valuation process? What typically happens with that?
See, I would argue that it doesn't, unless it doesn't factor in unless there's a realistic and imminent likelihood that that's going to occur. The owner will be dissolved of his or her or divested of his or her ownership shares. But for purposes of the divorce, we're assuming that the arrangement of the partnership is going to continue, that the income is going to continue to be generated, unless there's some evidence that it's not. And sometimes there is that evidence. Sometimes you have an aging spouse who's actively trying to market their interest, or they're in ongoing discussions with their partners about an exit strategy and buying them out. But short of that, no, I would argue that it doesn't factor in. There is a discount factor that you would frequently see in valuation, and I know this from working with valuation experts, for lack of control. So say, for example, I have a partner, the three of us are partners in a corporation or business, closely held business. None of us have control. We need two or three of us to make a decision as to this or that, or how to proceed on something. So that lack of control can be a factor. And you see that often, again, with partnerships like medical practices, law practices, that, look, I only have a 8% ownership share maybe. So there is a discount in the value for that lack of control, which is not present when you have somebody who's majority owner.
Yeah, of course. Have you seen discounts for lack of marketability, meaning this isn't a business you can just go out on the street and have somebody buy?
Well, I think the philosophy of most valuation experts would be we want to value it based on its highest and best value. This based on the income that it's generating at a much higher value than what we would value it if we were just looking at what would we sell it for.
Okay.
We have to go with the higher methodology unless we have actual evidence that person, that owner, is going to be selling the business or retiring or something like that. So that's why I always share with people that there are usually at least two or three options for valuation, and we're almost always going to go with the one that's going to generate the highest value of the business. And usually that's the income approach, but not always. A good example of another one would be like book value or asset value. Just what are the assets of the company worth on paper? That's something you think about, like an auto supply store. Maybe look, we're not going to be going on in this business for much longer. Most of the value here is in the parts, the inventory, the trucks, the computers, the furniture, all of the electronics and so forth. And that's the greater value, even more so than the income that it generates. If you have a fleet of trucks or vehicles, sometimes that's more appropriate to say, well, we're not going to look at the value of the income that it's generating, because it's not going to generate that for much longer potentially. But we have a lot of value in assets, trucks, inventory, et cetera. So that is really the third methodology for valuing a business, is the asset value. Team that you're working with, and we put a lot of faith and confidence in our experts we're fortunate, we've got some very good ones in the area.
Through a divorce, you have no prenuptial agreement, you have no asset protection trust. It sounds like you kind of have to go through this process. And thereafter, a lot of times what I see is people coming out of divorces after having gone through that process, and it's, what do I do now? Right. Yeah. And, for us is it's one, okay, update your estate plan for one, to ensure your ex-spouse is now removed. And that, you reconsider where your assets are going thereafter, but it's also, getting everything in order in the event you do want to get remarried. I think planning is big here for everyone.
I would also just say, don't just assume, if you're the owner spouse or the non-owner spouse of the business, don't just assume that it is marital or it's not marital, or that if it was a family business that you owned previously, that it's always protected. That's something that is really fact specific and document specific that need to have a bigger conversation.
Thank you both for all your knowledge. I definitely learned a lot myself, and this is the Divorce Lab.
Thank you for listening to us today. You can find us on the divorcelab.com. You can feel free to take a look at our other episodes, and you can also leave some questions or comments for us on there as well.